Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to be learning about World War II and kind of some basic details that will be covered more in depth in later videos. Today's lesson is going to focus on the people involved and the sides and where they were located. So, first thing you need to do in your interactive notebook is you're going to set up where you can take some notes. So, on the next clean page, if you would, write down these two indicators, 5-4.4 and 5-4.5. We're doing two indicators together right now because the second one down here at the bottom goes along with the one at the top, because if you notice, this one is focused on some of the people that were involved in the conflict. You may pause when you need to. I'm going to go ahead into the lesson. So the teams, if you think about it being one group versus another, there were kind of two sides in the war. There were the Axis powers and the Allied powers. Let's take a look at who these groups were. So in the Axis powers, you had Germany, Italy, and Japan. While on the other side, the Allied powers, you had the United States, Great Britain, France, and the USSR. The arenas, or where this all took place, was what they call two theaters that you had fighting in Europe. So that was the European theater, which is basically the Eastern Front and the Western Front of the war. And then you had the Pacific theater, which was Japan and the Pacific Islands. So in two different parts of the countries where you had a lot of the fighting taking place, with lots of countries involved in those two parts of the world. So then we think about who the players in the Axis power are. Who were the people that were kind of in leadership in each of those places? So in Germany, you had Adolf Hitler, and then Benito Mussolini in Italy, and then Emperor Hirohito in Japan. I'm going to go ahead and say that you're going to want to know everything that we've covered so far in the flip chart. It's going to be very important to you to know who the sides were and who was involved. These dictators in these three countries formed an alliance called the Axis powers. They were dictators and used military aggression against the rest of Europe to secure their goals. So when a dictator is in rule, you think about just one person is in control and they are making all the decisions in the country. And they use force and whatever other ways that they need to maintain control and sometimes take over other places and gain control of those areas. Let's look at some more of who was involved. The players in the Allied powers were President Roosevelt here in the United States, Charles de Gaulle from France, President of France, and then Winston Churchill from Great Britain. He was the Prime Minister, so he was kind of like the President in Great Britain, and then Joseph Stalin from the USSR. So you have, kind of after this lesson, the sides that were involved, what they were called, the Allied and Axis powers, where it was taking place, and who the people were in this war. Finish.